my curly hair.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Charmaine Hammond. I am with the Masterclass today. If you are looking for mastering radio interviews for a radical platform and a profitable business masterclass with Debbi Dachinger, you are so in the right place. Welcome. And I just want to let you know a couple of things about the web platform right away as we get started, because there is opportunity for all of you to ask questions, make comments, share ideas. I'm going to be watching the chat room so that I can see the questions, see the comments. We want to make sure we can get to as many or all of them today. And we have some questions that have come in already for Debbi. I don't know if you knew this, Debbi, but there was lots of people good gossiping about you, and they've got questions already. So it's perfect. Now let me just introduce myself, and then we'll dive in and start moving with Debbi here. My name is Charmaine Hammond. My company is Hammond International, and I speak and train corporately on topics of leadership, building healthy teams, and being resilient. And I also have another business that's really my pet project, and I mean pet project literally. We have a dog named Toby who has become the star of my books and many presentations that I offer to a different audience, corporate, but also to schools. And our dog Toby has been able to travel across North America with us on kindness tours. In fact, just yesterday, Debbi had me on her show, Dare to Dream Radio, and I was a guest. So this is so fun. The tables are turned, Debbi. I get to interview you now. And in terms of my business, in addition to speaking, I'm an author of 5 best-selling books. I'm featured in 6 others, and I get the pleasure of speaking around the world, corporately to corporate audiences, as well as at many conferences and events. I'm also the co-host. I'm co-hosting the Global Influence Summit with our dear friend Teresa de Grosbois. It's happening February 18th and 19th in San Diego, sunny San Diego. For those of you that are in cold, snowy U.S. or Canada, sunny San Diego. We'll talk about that a little bit later in our interview today. And Debbi is one of our headliner speakers at this event, so she's going to be giving you a little sneak preview of some of what you're also going to learn in California. Now let me tell you about Debbi. We're going to talk about a lot of great content today. In this exclusive masterclass, Debbi's going to be talking about some of the mistakes that people make on radio and why you do not want to make these mistakes, and how not making those mistakes will help you stand out as a speaker, as an author, as a coach, as an entrepreneur. And she's also going to talk about the connection between radio and how that can help you build your global influence, why it is so important as part of your business marketing plan, and also some strategies to help you gain exposure and supercharge your promotional strategies. Let's introduce Debbi. Debbi Dachinger is a media personality. She has cutting-edge talk radio show about success, and it's called Dare to Dream Radio. I just want to add something to that. Debbi's show was the very first show I was on when one of my books came. I know, she's looking aghast. It was one of the very first shows that I was on, and I've had the pleasure of being on her show 3 times, and so have many of my colleagues and even my clients. It's an amazing show. It's syndicated now on 66 stations. That's incredible, Debbi. She's won multiple awards. She's a top-notch radio personality, a successful motivational speaker who speaks around the planet, and she's also an author. She teaches authors also how to build media into their platform. She has best-selling books and teaches and coaches people as well on how to do that. And she's a certified dream coach. She's won so many awards, and her radio show is reaching millions and millions of people around the world, helping them be inspired and daring to dream. Thank you for being with us today on the Masterclass, Debbi.
Oh, it's such a pleasure, and you look absolutely beautiful, Charmaine.
Thank you. Oh, I'm excited. We've got a big crowd here today. So let me, and we got Rosemary starting us off with top of the morning, Rosemary from Calgary. So for all of you with us today, let's hear where you're from. I know I'm looking at some names of those who registered, and I know some of you are not in sunny, warm climates. You're in cold, snowy climates. Let us know who you are, what you do, where you're from, and then we can keep checking the chat box. Debbi, this was an important interview today because media is such an important part of business for speakers, authors, coaches, entrepreneurs. Media has been one of the best ways that I've built my platform. It has been so helpful in helping my message become a movement. And I'd love you to share with the audience why I'm going to get you to speak from two hats today, actually, Debbie, the radio host hat and also a speaker, an author hat. Why, from your perspective, is media so critical for building global influence and for getting your message out to the masses?
Media is everything right now, and I will tell you that statistics show, Charmaine, that radio is one of the top producers, meaning that more listeners listen to radio every single week, every single day, at an average of 1 to 4 hours a day. So radio is
Wow.
bigger than ever. There are more radio shows than ever. These radio shows need guests, and they have a huge reach. So if you're interviewed on radio, and let's say one show's hitting 10,000 people, but you do 10 interviews over a couple of months, you do the math, right? 100,000 people who have never met you before and now know you, your brilliance, and what you do out in the world. So it's exponential what you can create on radio when you know how to use it properly. It's tremendous. And frankly, Charmaine, it's everything. Learning to navigate and operate in radio can completely be a game changer for your business and your life. Creates a lot more ease, and it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. You know, I was really media, what's the word? Media shy, for example, when my first book came out in 2010, and you know, you become an author, you have to go on media, and I worked with Sean Duperrin, who is a dear friend of both of ours, and she was my media coach and taught me not only to rock it out on TV. TV was a really new game for me. She taught me to get over myself. I mean, I was so insecure and doubting myself, and I was sort of like this stiff, very serious person. I think Sean calls that alien face. And then, so I get through radio, and then I meet you, and then you help me, or I get through TV, and then I meet you, and you help me learn about how to be on radio, because jeepers, when you're on radio, you don't have the expressions physically for people to see, so your voice becomes so important. Give us some tips around, like, how can people express their personality with their voice? You can't see what someone's looking like or doing with their hands to get that emotion coming through the interview.
It's really important to be animated, but not too animated.
Right.
And what I want to stress is be yourself. When you're on radio, you really want to bring the essence of be yourself. All those doubts Charmaine's talking about, it's okay to have them, just don't bring them. Let them go before you go on. The truth is, when you're moving forward in your business, you have to step up to the plate and do these. So let all the stuff that goes on leave your space. If you want to meditate before you go on, but create a lot of presence, you can connect. Synergy and connecting with the host means you're going to connect with the listeners. Say the host name. Charmaine, what a great question. I'm really glad you asked that. And then repeat the question. So you can be very present. I'm really glad you asked that. How people can really become great at doing radio, doing their own thing, and being very calm. Well, one of the things you can do is find a way to become very present. And once you're on air, really connect with that host. Really listen to the questions and answer them succinctly. Avoid tangents. That'll work every time.
Awesome. One of the things you mentioned yesterday, Debbie, when you and I were talking offline before the interview you did, you were talking about the importance of sound bites, people being able to capture their answer in a sound bite. And I'm guessing that becomes super important for radio, because if you go on like a tangent, you said, people just start zoning out. How do you create all of this important information that you want to share into a shortened sound bite?
Well, sound bites are an art. So I want to be clear with that. So it's not saying something succinctly. A sound bite uses an anecdote or humor or speaks directly to the human condition. And it usually is done in one sentence, but it can be a mini paragraph. But what it does have is such a punch that it's memorable. You know, today we talk about, oh, that was such a good thing you just said. That's tweetable. Tweetable is 140 characters and less. And in general, so is a soundbite. And I want to be really clear, there's always caveats. I'm a big rule breaker. There's caveats to everything. And I can tell you amazing soundbite examples that come from people who were talking about railroad, for example, and a gentleman who runs a railroad company. And he's using all these illusions of gold and silver, and it keeps going back and forth. but the ending line is a punchline. I'll give you one example. Somebody who was talking about Paris Hilton, and they were asking about the phenomenon of Paris Hilton. And their response was, she is the non-story that keeps on being the non-story. That is a great example of a soundbite. And do you get it? Everybody gets it. Everybody knows that that's really the truth about someone who's self-created through media. But what I also want to point out, interestingly enough, by giving that soundbite example is, look at the possibility of media. When you have the Kardashians, when you have the reality shows, all they're doing is using media and being themselves on it in order to create this buzz about who they are, a phenom, and creating a whole business industry. So if that's possible, think about what's possible for you if you just use radio interviews and media. It's amazing.
Got it. Awesome. I'm just going to go to the chat box here. It sounds like some people are having some challenges with audio. Hang on, let me back up here, folks. So, Charmaine, your voice is coming through loud enough, but Debbie's is quiet. Ask Debbie to speak up. So I don't know if there's a way we can raise your volume, Debbie, but we may need you just to speak a little bit louder because some people were having a hard time hearing. And for those of you, you can also adjust your own volumes too and see if that helps on your systems. And Debbie, I'll just get you to talk loud.
Great. And can you guys check in right now? It's D-E-B-B-I, by the way, no E. I'm reading a lot of your beautiful post here. D-E-B-B-I is Debbie. If you could please let me know, can you hear me better? I just took the mic out and see if this assists you in any way. And if so, full steam ahead.
Okay, so Joelle says yes. Okay. Great. Anyone else? Is that sounding better for Debbie now that we've got it a little louder?
I'm up to 91%, so it should be like an aria here.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. So we've got people, Rosemary from Calgary, Kim from Calgary, Denise from Burbank, and we have Wendy, good morning, beautiful, Dagmar from Toronto, hey, great to see you on there, and Carla from frozen Fort McMurray, Alberta, where I know it's cold there. I just looked at the temperature. I'm heading up there this week, Carla. Sharon, hugs to both of you. See you in San Diego soon. Kara from Edmonton. And Sadie's mom, hi, Joelle, from Wisconsin. We've got Lisa Kelly, hi, Lisa, from International Workplace Wellness Consultant. And Lisa's in Edmonton. Kim says, I'm being interviewed for a podcast on February 2nd. Awesome, Kim. So you are in the right place at the right time. She says, I really need this class. And Joelle says, Sadie and I, and just so you know, Debbie, who I know you're a big dog fan, Sadie is a dog with an amazing story. I'll send you some information after. And, wow, that's amazing. You're going to be on Animal Magnetism with Carolyn Hennessy from General Hospital. Way to go, Joelle. Woo! Catherine, hello, Charmaine, and Debbie and she's from Calgary. And then we've got Shannon, loving and living in Vancouver. Okay. And they're saying mine is blurry. My voice is blurry? I'm using the headset, so I was hoping that would be a little bit better than just using my external mic. And Jean says, Charmaine, you are blurry.
Is that her visual or is that her voice? Because I hear her voice amazingly well. But is that her visual is blurry or her voice is blurry?
Good question. Maybe I'm just a little blurry looking today. Not your voice, your photo. Okay. I'll just get Debbie to talk lots and then we won't have to look at my face. All right, let's rock and roll. Keep your questions coming. And I'll keep looking at the chat box. So, Debbie, I wanted to go to talk about the whole concept of radio. And are there mistakes that you see guests make? You have a lot of people. I don't know how many people have you had on your show. I mean, jeepers, it's a lot.
So here's the thing. I've been on for 9 years, and in 9 years, you know, I was at one station where I had a couple of hours, so it was that many people every week. Now I'm down to an hour a week. Oh, my goodness. I would say thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I've also been on the red carpet and I've interviewed people that way on camera. I've also did teleseminars and interviewed people that way. So, you know, the sky's the limit. I would say it's been thousands and thousands, and
Wow.
I have felt so blessed to have the people I've had on the show, because you call this a master class, but for me, radio has been a master class. Who sits in front of me is the information I'm always supposed to hear at the right time, and then through me it gets disseminated to listeners. So,
Wow.
you know, let it roll. I'm still having a great time doing this, and I plan to keep doing it for quite some time.
Ah. What about mistakes, Debbie? I know that I've made mistakes. Oh my gosh, I've said the wrong announcer's name on there. I gave the wrong date of an event because I just blacked out. I mean, things like that happen. What are some of the common mistakes that you see on radio? And then what can we do to not make those mistakes so we are super media savvy?
Great. I'll give you quite a few, and I'm sure this will generate some questions. So first of all, based on what you just said, Charmaine, getting the host's name, very important. My last name is Dachinger, Dachinger. It's Austrian, but here in the United States, we say Dachinger. You want to know that before you go on. You don't want to butcher anyone's name. Also, you want to be really clear that you get your information that is important said right up front. Now, if you're going to be interviewed on drive time in the morning and you have 5 minutes, it's like bam. So you want to make sure right up front, get your information in. This opens the door for them to ask questions and do some volley back and forth. And then you have a lot of comfort for whatever happens in the conversation after. Another big mistake I see is people who say too much or too little. So for example, I just talked about a soundbite, saying it succinctly. And it's really funny. This has only happened twice. I had someone on my show once, and I have to say, I would ask questions, and it was really bizarre. I would ask a question, and she would answer a question, and then I'd realize she was done, and I'd ask another question, and she'd answer a question. And I finally asked her during one of the breaks, has somebody coached you? And she said, oh, yes. She was so proud. God bless her. And she said, they coached me to, like, say what I need to say and get out. What she didn't realize is she wasn't completing a thought, so we weren't really downloading what she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And the finish of her sentence was almost on a non-tick or an uptick, as opposed to a down-tick. So we are really clear as hosts or producers, you've just finished your thought. So when you do sound bites, when you think about things like that, remember you really want to finish a full sentence of thought and have a down-tick. It's clear on volleying it back to the host. Those are a few things. I have a lot more, but I would say, I'll just add, you want to have a really correct approach in how you get to a person or a station. I mostly am approached by PR people and agents and so forth who represent people, but in the beginning I saw all sorts of very interesting things. It's everything for getting booked on a high-end show. And the last thing is, if you are on a radio show, please take a moment to thank the host. They have literally just given you their audience for those 5 minutes or 1 hour. It is incumbent upon you to thank them. They've given you free PR, free marketing. Maybe it's a pay-to-play situation. If it's internet radio, they've literally paid for you to just be on their show.
Mm-hmm.
They're promoting you. They've got a newsletter. And frankly, they've just possibly given you product. Because everything about radio, and you can repurpose everything on radio before, during, and after, please thank your host. It's so important for us to receive and feel that encouragement and connection.
Yes.
And if you've been on a show and you have gotten results, people have downloaded your free gift, you've gotten a client, someone's following you who wasn't before, if you've gotten a positive result, small or large, maybe you want to consider advertising on their show. Maybe they have a great reach and the right reach for your people. So consider that may be a new avenue for you to pursue financially. It's not expensive to advertise, but it could be a great thing for you to do for at least a year and start to bring in big time results. Interviews, advertise, goes together.
Awesome, awesome. We've got a couple people who are still struggling with some sound, so it's coming through okay. My system's showing that everything's coming through okay, so it could be your bandwidth. You may have to adjust your own volume, and I know Callie suggested that sometimes people putting on earplugs, that can help as well, so I'll give you those things to try out. One of the challenges always when you're using an internet-based platform is it's running through the internet, so sometimes you get alien sounding, or it may sound like you're in a tunnel, and it's just one of those things that happens when you use conference lines or webinar platforms. Often it comes through great in the video recording, which you guys will all get, so we'll keep watching your comments and make sure that you guys get all this information. Now, we've got some juicy questions. Debbie, are you ready?
I'm ready.
So, okay, here, Callie's got one. So it says, I've been offered to be a guest on a radio show. I don't know where to begin of what to say about me and what I have to offer. Great question.
Yes, it is a great question. First thing, Callie, is find out about the show. Before you find out about yourself, find out about the show. Who listens to it? Listen to a show or two. Do some exploratory work so you feel confident. How long are you going to be interviewed on? And what is the vibe of the show? Do they break, go to commercial? What kind of questions do they ask? And how many listeners do they have? This may be a very tiny show, which would be fabulous for you because it's a great dress rehearsal to get you ready for the big times. If it's a bigger show, okay, we're going to help you get your chops in line. So what is it that you do, Callie, and frankly, anyone who's listening? Something about you makes you unique. You've had personal and professional experiences that none of us have had, and you have a filter that none of us have either that allows you to impart some wisdom. Now, I may talk about radio in a wholly different way somebody else might, but I can tell you because I'm an expert on both sides of the mic. I'm on radio and I'm interviewed on radio, so I know intimately what both of them are like. What do you know intimately that none of us know? And then you want to speak in terms when they ask you questions. Now, this is general, of course. You want to be yourself, be relaxed, be present. When they bring up something that you're an expert in, Callie, what you can do is say, here is the problem, here's an example of the problem, and here is a solution. People love that. You're not actually even giving away the farm, but what you are is you're giving away some information, some fodder that nobody out there has before. So what is the problem? Give an example of the problem, and then give the solution. You're the expert.
Beautiful. I love that tip, and what you're helping us understand, Debbie, is the importance of branding ourselves as that expert. Because if you're going to be on radio all the time, TV and print, we want to have that consistent brand where people get to know us as the expert. Jerry Foster, I can't wait to hear his presentation at the Global Influence Summit. He's going to be talking about how do you make that unique brand, exactly what Debbie's talking about, having what makes you special, what sets you apart from everyone else. And Jerry's an expert in helping people create brands that people want to literally crawl through glass to follow you because you're so unique and your brand is so clear. So I love that you've brought that up, Debbie, and that's important for us to spend some time thinking about that. What is our genius? What sets us apart? I love the tip about researching shows. I'm going to add, you need to listen to people's shows. When my book came out, we had booked a whole bunch of shows, my very first show, and my intuition said, go listen to this guy's show. The email was really weird.
Hear the story.
Oh, it was so weird, and I went and listened to his show. It was like 11:30 or midnight. I was on the next morning, and I went and listened. I shared this with you, I know, Debbie, and I listened to his show, and I was horrified. Oh my gosh, it was just swear words and beating people up verbally, and like he was antagonizing the guest, and I thought, I can't be on the show. This is not my space. This is not my values and energy. So I'm texting my publicist at midnight, and she got me off the show, and that was my big lesson. I had never thought of that in terms of preparation. Debbie, you warned me to do that. I missed the ball and just didn't check out his show, and I would have been horrified being on that show, and then it would be, how do you get off?
Take care of yourself. That's such a beautiful point, Charmaine. Thank you. I want to say, to pull this all together, because these are really succulent here. First of all, with Jerry Foster, exactly. I can't wait to hear his branding material as well, because I love branding. Branding is your essence. That's all it is, folks. It's about taking your essence and finding a way to communicate that visually, auditory, and other ways that people are clear about who you are. I mean, so I'm many things, but the one thing people perceive often, I'm just talking about branding here, is that I'm a little bit rock and roll, right? So that's cool. Okay, so I'll be that, do that, because that's inherent in me. So to take that forward, the branding and everything else, and where you put yourself out in the world doing the same thing, basically you have a message. You have a brilliance. You get that I'm not on Charmaine's show talking about math or geography or science or many other things, but always since I'm a kid, entertainment has been my thing in one way or another. So that there's an ease for me to communicate this and to have a really particular point of view that is helpful, right? You want to create value for people. So my point in talking about how we communicate it is, and where you end up communicating is, if you would only be in a relationship that treasures you and honors you and gets you, then you want to be in a party with people who love you, get you, and honor you. And you only want to be on radio shows that get you, love you, and honor you. Never put yourself in a position where somebody is not going to understand a word you're saying, not going to pay attention. And I've heard other horror stories out there. Definitely do your homework. And here's the beautiful thing. You will then end up on shows that are phenomenal for you. So your time is going to be well spent. But also, you're going to start building up the right audience, the right people, the people who are going to buy your things, love your coaching and workshops, and follow you and understand your brilliance. It just makes the time that you spend doing this really worthwhile. So take Charmaine's example and use it as a learning example so that you don't have to go there. Someone invites you, take a moment, go listen to their show, and if you love it, full steam ahead. If they have a big audience and it's yummy and juicy in your audience, absolutely get booked on that show.
Beautiful, thank you. And for those of you, we were talking about Jerry Foster. He's actually tomorrow's masterclass, Debbie. He's doing one on branding tomorrow. So for those of you who haven't joined up for Jerry's masterclass tomorrow, you can go on Facebook and search the event page called Global Influence Summit, and the registration, it's a free masterclass with Jerry tomorrow. Teresa de Grosbois will be interviewing Jerry. Now we had some more questions come in. Shannon wants to know, what's the best way to request a radio interview?
Oh, darling, thank you so much for asking. You know, you want to have a media kit, and in your media kit, you're going to have a pitch letter, a bio, a headshot, and generally some talkabouts. Talkabouts are talking points. You can have 5 of them. And what you want to do is create questions that you're an expert in. But here's something even more important than that, or aligns with that. Why would somebody want to tune in and listen to you? So create 5 points, questions that a host, a station, a producer is going to look at and go, oh, my audience will eat this up. Have an amazing professional pitch letter, press kit, so you send it out to the right shows. And then they will love to have you because they'll know immediately you are a pro.
Beautiful. You know, one of the ways before I met you, Debbie, and I was trying to figure out the whole how do you find radio shows to go on, I actually had my own blog talk radio show. It was a way of me promoting the On Toby's Terms book in 2010 when it came out. Blog talk radio, for those of you who are starting out, there are, I don't even know how many shows are on there. There's so many shows. And I used blog talk radio shows. A lot of them are smaller audiences. And as you mentioned, Debbie, we need to practice. We need to build our skill set towards those bigger shows. And that was, for me, a great way of doing that. So blogtalkradio.com, you can go in there and do a search. So you could search you know, the animals. So for you, Joelle, who is in the animal world, you could search animals. Carla, you're in the resilience world, in the health and wellness world, you could search health and wellness. Great way to find radio shows. And then using the tips that Debbie just gave, which I typed up in our chat box to summarize, how you kind of go about getting ready for radio with your press kit. Now, another question that came in is, Kim wants to know, what do you mean by downtick and uptick?
Ah, okay, great. So it is, I'm sure, I don't want to, I will give you lay terms, but I'll
Okay.
demonstrate it for you. I think that's easier. But it's literally uptick or downtick. You know how would always make fun, maybe you watch Saturday Night Live, and there was something called the Valley People here in California, and everybody would be like, you know what I'm talking about? I went to a party, and everything ends in a question. That's an uptick. And you're like, is that a question or a statement? You're not exactly sure what to do with it. So, of course, I'm dramatizing it for you. But a downtick means that when I end my sentence, it's super clear. I just volleyed it back to Charmaine, and I am complete.
Yes. I love that you've mentioned this. This is really important. Where are our speakers, professional speakers in the audience? Type in if you're speaking. If you're an author, you need to be speaking. Here's one of the common mistakes. I do a lot of work with speakers and authors and entrepreneurs, and I love what you're talking about, this uptick, downtick. I call it the upswing. And what I often hear is people, I'll imitate what I hear. Hi, my name is Charmaine Hammond. I'm here today to talk about conflict resolution. It's a really important topic and can help your audience resolve conflict in a helpful way. And what I know, for the men that are listening, you'll relate to this. What I know, because I do a lot of negotiations, that was my training for many, many years as a dispute resolution expert. What happens is we lose our credibility when we use the upswing. And from a negotiation perspective, because I do a lot of facilitating of really difficult conversations, and I have people that are in high-profile positions, CEOs of companies, that will say, when somebody talks using that upswing, my trust level goes down, and I don't listen to them. I tune them out. And so if we want to be heard, what Debbie's saying is critical. Use the downturn. And just imagine, Debbie, you kind of went like this and then like this with your body language, just as you're speaking. Ask yourself, is this an upturn or a downturn? And speak with credibility and power. I love that, Debbie. No more downswings. All right. Ready for the next question, Debbie?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I love that. Lisa says, I host a YouTube interview series. Oh, that's fabulous, called Wellness Ambassadors at Work. Way to go. Shannon's saying, great advice, Debbie. Thank you so much. Callie's saying, thank you. Carla says, I have a new radio host. Yay, Carla. New radio host starting February 1st. Does Debbie send a tip sheet or guidelines or anything like that to her guests? And if so, what would be some things that you would include?
Oh, this is great. Thank you for the question. And by the way, not only do I coach people in radio interview mastery, but I've also done classes for people to become radio hosts. And I love it. I love working with you guys. I love seeing you go from where you are to your ultimate brilliance. So your question is a sheet. My love, absolutely. And here's what you do. Because you've got to make it easy for yourself. Most people who get into hosting think, it's so easy. All you do is you put on one of these little headgears and you just start talking 30 minutes an hour. What you're going to find is that being a host is a lot more work than you might have anticipated. And I believe in keeping everything very simple and easy so it's less work. Nonetheless, and I want to be very clear, I have been doing it for 9 years because I love it. So the work was standing, the joy that comes from it is way bigger than the work. This is what I do. Feel free to use it. I have one form letter. The form letter says exactly what my show is about and exactly what is needed and expected, and always has a space for the free dates, which obviously I have to change because the free dates are always changing. I send that one form letter out. Thank you for your interest. This is my deal. I have 1 million listeners. I'm heard on 66 stations. I'm also heard on all these other outlets and venues. If you're interested, these are my past guests because I want them to be clear what the idea of my show is and who I'm looking for. Here are the free dates. It is a live show all on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And if you're interested, please let me know right away and I'll send you the particulars. Ta-da! They or the press people get back to me. And if it's a win, or to my scheduler, also you can have a scheduler. If it is a win, then you can send them the second form letter. They're on the show. You both committed and confirmed. My second form letter has everything when I need it. And frankly, I use Outlook Calendar now to do it. So it's already in the calendar every Wednesday. And I just add their email address so it gets sent out to them and tells them exactly what I need and when I need it and how they should deliver it to me. I also want to give you one other suggestion, because that's one way to do it. I also have a friend who does everything online. And if you've got Online Genius or know someone who can create up an auto scheduler for you, just use a scheduler. People who are interested can go there, and then they can sign themselves up. And it sends them an auto response saying, this is what I need. And then they send everything or put it to that online form. And then you're really kind of out. You just don't have to manage all that stuff. The only reason why I have people write me is because I have a lot of discernment about who I have on the show and the level of people that I have. And because of that, I have to be a tiny bit of a gatekeeper. But honey, especially if you're beginning and you're super open, you can do that online and it'll create a lot of ease for you. I hope that helps.
Perfect. Thank you, Debbie. And then we have Kim who says, how would you create the 30-second intro to gain influence, or sorry, how would you create the 30-second intro to gain audience attention? How is it different from, say, an elevator pitch?
I want to get clear. 30-second intro, do you mean to be as a host or an interviewee?
I'm assuming it's as a guest. Let me know if I've got that right. That one came from Kim. Is that right, Kim? As a guest, you're looking for information about that 30-second intro that a host would use to introduce you?
Oh.
And you know what? We should send people in the follow-up notes, Debbie, the interview that you did with me yesterday where I was your guest, because that can give an example of how you provided an essence of who I am so that the audience knows who they're going to be listening to. But then what you did is at the very end, you kind of shortened it into this, but just kind of a point, and then led into the show. And I thought that was really a powerful introduction. So we could send that out if you're okay with that to people to listen to.
Brilliant, and thank you. And it took me a long time to get there, just so you know. When I first started doing radio, first of all, I used to read someone's bio that was this big. And I realized, because I also listened back to myself early on to learn, and I realized that's insane. Nobody can digest all of that. Your bio should be very short and just talk about your brilliance and who you be out in the world so we can move on and actually talk to you.
Yeah.
And the next thing I realized is how awkward it is to begin a radio show. Hi, Charmaine, welcome to the Dare to Dream radio show. And then Charmaine might say, great, thanks for having me. And it's just like this very stop and start thing. So I realized I started to bridge the gap to be very clear about what I'm speaking to somebody. So I'll leave it at that. So I create some intrigue. So you guys will now go listen to Charmaine's interview. I also want to point out what you'll be hearing, besides a really nice, easy flow in the beginning, is how Charmaine, who's talking about she had doubts in the beginning, she's an amazing, for someone like me, amazing interview, because she knows how to answer the exact question that's being asked by using value and content, examples, and she gets in and out. It's like exactly the right amount of time. Now, the other thing I want you to listen to when you listen to this interview is she does many amazing things out in the world. So we spoke mostly about sponsorship, but I brought in the fact that she's working with animals and doing the kindness tour in the RV. And you're going to see what it looks like to bring a wholly new subject into an interview, which someone could have gone off in a crazy tangent. She did not. She succinctly answered about kindness and then brought it back around to sponsorship. So listen to it, because back and forth you're going to hear how you can be as well when you really get your chops up and being interviewed, and why you'll get asked back when you operate like that.
Beautiful. So Kim got back to us. The question about the 30-second pitch was, Kim was saying yes, as an interviewee. So that creating that 30-second or that short soundbite introduction when you're an interviewee.
Ah, okay, I think there's a little confusion. I never said 30 seconds. And soundbite doesn't have to ever be at the beginning. Soundbite can be anywhere, and in fact, it might be a little weird in the beginning, to be honest. So what you really want in the beginning, Kim, is you just want to connect. You want to be relaxed, and you want to connect. So if Charmaine were to start, Charmaine, just hit me with an intro as though you're introducing me. Examples are always the best.
So introduce you?
As though I'm being interviewed on the radio.
Okay, so I want to introduce to you Debbi Dachinger, who is an award-winning entrepreneur, a global speaker, an author, award-winning best-selling author. She has her own radio show, Dare to Dream Radio, syndicated on 66 stations. Welcome to the show, Debbi.
Thank you so much, Charmaine. It's so great to be operating from here today, and I'm really excited to talk to your audience about what radio interview mastery is about and what it can do for them.
Love it.
And you
did a downswing. I love the downswing and the downtick. Yay.
So basically, she's invited me and said it's so great to have you here. I'm saying it's so great to be here, but I'm giving something away that will help create maybe the next thing, because I just said I'm so excited to teach people what radio interview mastery is all about. She can come back and say, well, what is it all about, Deb? Maybe I've got 5 minutes, right? I'm on morning drive time. I've got 5 minutes, and before the producer comes on, we go to commercial, and they've got the talk show hosts there the rest of the show. I want to get my brilliance in right at the beginning, but all I'm doing is warming up and connecting and being gracious, but giving something away that will help maybe ask a question, open a door. I hope that makes sense.
That I was just thinking that's so important, that as a host, we're actually as an interviewee, our job is also to be helpful to the host. So you might be interviewing someone on the last 3 books they've written, and you've had a chance to skim them, but sometimes you're bringing people on a couple of days, not enough notice to read every single book they've ever written or to watch every single YouTube they've ever done. So what I'm getting from you, Debbi, the way you answered that question after I introduced you, you were setting it up for the host to just walk into that next logical question. Is that a fair statement?
That is extremely fair, and I am all about that. If you say things that are the most important to you, and also your brilliance, your niche, generally, for any good host, also has great curiosity. And they're going to want to know more. What is that? Or how do you do that? And I want to give you a little example. One of my previous coaching students, Lawrence, is a CPA. Lawrence is going to be with us in San Diego. He's coming down. And I love him because he used to work for the IRS. I mean, how different is that? So he's got his own brand of brilliance. And he was so sweet. He came to hear me speak recently, and he brought me a recording of a radio show he did. And he asked me to listen to it. And I listened to it, and so I got back to Lawrence, and I'm going to teach you what I taught him. Once he got rolling, and it was about a 20, 30-minute interview, when he got rolling about 10 minutes in, hold on to your hats, kids. He was amazing. I was writing notes and thinking, oh, I didn't know that about money. Oh, I didn't know that about taxes. Oh, I didn't know that about what rich people did. He was offering beautiful, valuable tips. However, the first 5 minutes of the conversation with the host, awkward. The host says, well, welcome to the show, Lawrence. Thank you. It's really great to have you here. Haven't had a CPA on the show before. Yes. Well, Lawrence, I can't wait to learn more because I have a really tough time. Do you understand? It's like pulling teeth. You can't be like that, because what could happen? The statistics are crazy for how much people channel surf. You know what it's like in television, right? You barely stay with the show, and you're going past the commercials. And let me tell you, radio's even more so, because there's even that many more radio shows. If you're not phenomenal and you don't capture people, if you're not compelling kind of in the first few sentences, most people are going to find another channel and switch off. I want to be clear, statistics are with you, more radio shows than ever, more people listening, more outlets, so you got them. They're there for you. Utilize every opportunity and just say something in the first two sentences that creates a bit of a conversation volley. It's not me, it's value, content.
Beautiful. That's so important what you just shared. It reminds me when you talk about those short statements that and you said earlier that's tweetable or that's shareable. That's so important because I've actually been on radio shows, just like when you're speaking on the stage. Karen McGregor is an expert at teaching people how to rock from the stage. I can't wait to see her speak in San Diego. But I've heard Karen, I've heard Laura Rubinstein, who's a social media expert, talk about when you say something really powerful, and it just grabs the audience, whether you're on the stage or on the air, people will go and tweet that out. If you let them know, share what you are hearing that's resonating. And I love that. I've been on radio shows where people are tweeting out something that I've said or something that you as the host have said, and talk about having your audience help your message go global.
Oh, thank you so much for that. One of the things people tweet that I say is make your mess your message. And I'll tell you what I mean by that in terms of radio. Make your mess your message. Somebody was asking previously, well, how do I know what my brilliance is? How do I know exactly what to share? When I say you've had your own experiences in life, some of us have had a mess or a wound we've had to go through, and we've had to heal it completely and get to the other side. And then we've been given a lot of wisdom in order to operate from. And then it is our wisdom to disseminate and teach out into the world. We make our mess our message. Sometimes our soul needs to go through that experience in order for us to become the inspiration and teacher that we're here to be. So make your mess your message. There'll be something in there. It's not a sad sack story, but it's like, I went through this. This is what happened. This is what I gained, and now I offer it to you so you don't have to go through it yourself. Take it and use it. Make your mess your message.
I love that. And I also love what you just modeled for us, making a statement, explain the statement, and then make the statement again. That is powerful, not only for radio, but when you're speaking on the stage. There's that, what is it that they say? Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And you just showed us exactly what that looks like. I want to share, if it's okay with you, Debbie, you sent me an email yesterday with the link to the radio show, and I want to talk about that for a minute because part of having your radio shows help get your message out on a global level is also supporting the host in doing that. Sometimes people think sort of it's the host job to just do all the promotion for the show, and I have a different belief. I think it's our job as the guest to show our host as much social media love as we can possibly show. Now, when Debbie sent me the email yesterday saying, here's the link to your radio show, and then she said, we have posted it on 20 or 30, whatever it was, platforms on Facebook. We have posted it here. It's on iTunes. She was listing off all of the places that she is helping promote the show that she did with me, which is my message. And so you can be guaranteed when I opened up that email, Debbie is scheduled into Hootsuite for the next 6 months. I took the radio show link. I'm hoping it's still up there in 6 months, but I wanted to just share it like crazy. Julie, who's on my team, takes the radio show, a recording, Debbie, that you did yesterday with me, and Julie is now writing 3 blogs about it, to have us be able to find ways to share your show. So it's sort of like what Shonda Perrin talks about, that cycle of reciprocity, where I want Debbie to call me again to come on a radio show. I mean, that's what we want in media, is to be the person, that expert you talked to about later or earlier, Debbie, when you said, be that expert they call on. That's part of how we do that, by being a champion for the host. And Callie says here, expressing gratitude gives the value of appreciation. I really agree. There's another question here, Debbie. Is speaking on the radio similar like if you were engaging with someone one-on-one?
Wow. So I'm going to give you an intuitive response, because logically I would say yes. And there is comfort in, if I just connect with Charmaine and I'm present with her, then the answer is yes. But intuitively what I hear is no. It is not like a one-on-one conversation for several reasons. There are certain things I probably wouldn't share that I might if Charmaine and I were alone at coffee, where I might be much more exposed and vulnerable. There are certain things I just want to talk about, which is my brilliance, my books, what I'm doing out in the world, how I might help you or serve you, why you should learn radio. If you're intrigued by what I'm saying and this fits you, meaning if you're having struggles out in the world financially, if your business isn't doing what it wants, if you need to be playing a bigger game, learn radio and learn it right. Be radio rich, not radio rough. Then come work with me. Let's take this further. I offer X, Y, and Z. That's why I'm on radio, is to enrich your life. But if I were in a one-on-one conversation, and any of my dear friends and chums will tell you, we're going to have a little bit different conversation. I'm a little goofy. I'll probably be laughing. We'll probably go deep. It'll be a little bit of a different conversation. So to be clear and summarize it, there is the energy of I am connecting with Charmaine or the host, and through them out to all the listeners. That is true. But the idea of the conversation and the exact nature of what goes on within that conversation is quite different than a one-on-one.
Got it. Yeah, your tips today are awesome, Debbie, in terms of helping us understand how to build a platform. I'm really seeing how important radio is in building your platform, in letting the world know your genius, and letting the world know your expertise, in solidifying your brand. And I think all of that would go to creating a more profitable business. And is that fair?
Oh my God. And like, honestly, folks, this conversation, we're learning this much. The subject is so huge. When you play the radio game right, I can tell you so many stories of lives that have been changed, careers that have changed. And the great thing is, once you get it down, once you've been coached so you're proper on radio, once you have a professional package that you're sending out, once you know how to get to the right shows and approach the right shows, and you start doing it, here's what's beautiful. Radio takes on its own life. So in the beginning, yes, you have to send yourself out for radio and people respond and you get on. But at some point, it becomes an entity, living, breathing, and it takes on a life of its own. I'm so excited to share this because you will find that shows start to come to you. Invitations start to come to you. People start to know who you are out in the world, and it is surprising and positive and wonderful. What Charmaine was talking about before is alchemy. When I do my work, and you do your work, whether you are a client or you come on the show, it creates gold synergistically when we do it together, and miracles happen.
Well, and I love that you're going to be on the stage in California helping us create these miracles, Debbie, because, I think I couldn't agree with you more that radio is such an important part of helping the world. I mean, I've had people listen to shows, and not necessarily my shows, but tell them that they found their mentor or they found the solution they were looking for in their life and their business because they were driving to work one day and they just happened to capture this 3 minutes of a radio interview, and they went and looked that person up, and that was the person that changed their life. So I couldn't agree with you more that there's this powerful connection. We've got one more question. I'm going to keep going with the questions here. We've got, is communicating to a radio audience a lot different to communicating to a live audience?
1,000 trillion%. Generally, and I hope I'm getting this right, because my mind said when you said live, it's about speaking.
Yeah.
If I'm not correct, please write in again, so I'll address that first. So I want to just address speakers. I love you. I'm one. Please leave your memorized speech that you're used to doing in front of people for a stage. Don't bring it on radio, because you come off robotic. And as a host, we can feel it. Your answers are almost always too long. And it just doesn't read well. On radio, it's just, honestly, I had no idea what Charmaine was going to ask me. And so this is a real organic volley back and forth. But you can hear, hopefully, that my answers are addressing what's being asked, and then I'm coming back out. So she can ask more, you can ask more. We can keep the conversation going. So it is different than a live presentation, absolutely. And all you have is your voice. Keep it animated, expressive, give content, and go back out.
Beautiful. And we have a comment here. Carla says, I'm looking forward to meeting you, Debbie, in person at the Global Influence Summit. Carla's she's got her flights booked and everything. She's coming. Callie's coming. I know there's others. Type in the chat box if you're already registered for the Global Influence Summit. And make sure, I'm just going to put this out, make sure that when you're there in San Diego, you go and find Debbie and connect to Debbie and let her know who you are. Tell her that you were on this masterclass, that you got connected to her here. I think it's really important. Part of building influence is connecting with influencers like you, Debbie. So I'm expecting that everyone immediately, if they haven't done it already, has gone and found you on Facebook. They've found you on Twitter, and they're starting to build that relationship with you right now. So how many of you have done that? And Jean is saying, Jean, I know you're registered. San Diego, yes, yes, yes. Kara says, can't wait. I know you've been registered for a long time. Catherine says, fantastic insights, Debbie. Thank you. And I know, Catherine, if it's the Catherine I'm thinking of, I know you're registered. Can't wait to see you. So let's talk for a minute. Denise says, I can't wait. Let's talk for a minute about the Global Influence Summit. Debbie, you're going to be speaking on radio. This was sort of a, as you said, a small amount of information in a very, very big topic. You provided us with a ton of information, by the way. And Bart says, yes, yes. When you're at the Global Influence Summit, give us a couple of things that we can expect to hear from you in February.
Mamma mia. Well, I'm going to give you the technique to do this, basically, and we're going to deep dive into some subjects. And I want to be super clear. Like, this was great Q&A. Loved engaging with all of you. What I'm doing is a real, here's why radio is important, and here's what you can do about it, and here's how you can completely take your business and how you're being out in the world and turn it around. I want you to have media madness so that you create great relationship with those who are in radio and media and see that when you take it and do it right, where you can go. I'm going to be talking specifically about how to do key messages. I'm going to get more into sound bites, and I'm going to give you statistics, ideas, and techniques that are going to blow your mind. I'm talking about getting on radio and being great.
Awesome. I can't wait. Every time I hear you speak, Debbie, I just learn more and more. So I know we're in for some great information. You can see on the screen we've got some information for you about the Global Influence Summit. It is on February 18th and 19th in San Diego. Great place to be. Some of you, like Carla, who live in snowy Canada or can't wait to escape the snow. And it's 2 solid days, 12 amazing speakers. Some of them we've talked about today on our conversation. Debbie knows these people personally. I know them, and they are leaders and geniuses in their field. We have Teresa de Grosbois, we have Deborah Poneman, Harrison Klein, Debbie, Thomas Lemaire, who is an amazing internet marketing coach. He's doing some coaching with us to help us understand the whole world of internet marketing. And that's just a few. You can see the speakers on the screen here, 12 amazing speakers. So here's what I want to let you know. The price goes up next week, so we would love for you to join us at the $220, which is a great price for registration. It's the globalinfluencesummit.com is the website. You can also click on it on the screen. You'll see a green button that says register me now. And because of the generosity of our speakers and our sponsors, and I'll be talking about sponsorship, that's my topic that I'll be talking about at the event. And I love talking about sponsorship because it's important for us as business owners and entrepreneurs to have as much of our business sponsored. Yes. By working in collaboration. Debbie, you do that on your radio show. You have sponsors. We talked about them yesterday.
Indeed, and I want to talk about one of your sponsors, Charmaine, for this upcoming Global Influence event is Marla Tabaka, who is a friend and colleague of mine. Marla does amazing work out into the world. So when you go to the Global Influence Summit and you get to meet her and spend time with her, really enjoy her. She's, first of all, a phenomenal writer. She writes for Inc. magazine, which, as you know, is a really huge accomplishment, great writer. And I hope she's okay with me saying this, but she's also a phenomenal healer, and I know from personal experience. So Marla Tabaka is doing big things out in the world. She's one of the sponsors. You're going to want to meet her. And frankly, I would highly recommend that you are ready to come out first thing in the morning. I believe that Charmaine, she has set this up with some surprises like a meditation in the morning before this starts. And then we're going to kick it off first thing in the morning with powerful, potent speakers. Natalie Ledwell is up. I think I'm second on the roster. And then you've got Sean Bupiran has won 8 Emmys. You've got Teresa Desbois, Charmaine, Harrison Klein will blow your mind.
Yeah.
And on and on. But all of these people, they're really doing big work and contribution out in the world. And they're here for one reason, to connect with you and show you how to take what you're doing and blow it out. So wherever your frustrations are, you know how we all do something and keep hitting a ceiling and we can't get past that jar? It's really difficult. If you're there now or have been there, let us show you how with our techniques you can completely change what you're doing and create so much fun and ease and get who you are and your message out to the world so it works for you and you don't have to struggle so much. I really am excited to meet all of you.
Oh, me too. So there's the button to register. It's a great price. You get many, many bonus items. Debbie is giving everyone a bonus item, which is incredible. Can you just quickly share what they get access to from you, Debbie?
Yeah, first of all, I can promise you one thing. You're never going to hear the same thing from me. So when I'm on stage, it'll be completely different. And I'm giving you a free gift. It's worth $129, but I love you and I want you to be phenomenal. You're going to learn all new tips about being on radio, how to get there, and what we're looking for. So be sure to download your free copy today. It's an audio. You can listen in the comfort of your car or your iPod or iPhone. It will take you from where you are and give you brand new information so you can exponentialize the way you can show up on radio and really create a radical platform.
Thank you, Debbie, for doing that. And we'll get that link out to everyone. And thank you all for joining us today. For those of you that have already registered for the Global Influence Summit, thank you. I can't wait to see you all. Debbie, thanks for sharing the stage in February. And let's see you all in San Diego. Have an awesome, awesome week. Thank you. Thanks, Debbie.